Hello, hello. I have a match between the Empire and Ogres here. Oh, let's let it run. On the Sunken Mire. The Sunken Mire is a bit of an odd map. If you're familiar with Gates of Akrond, then this map plays surprisingly similar. You have this big forest that separates a side point and a lane of points, and it promotes a very aggressive play style, going for your opponent's home point or taking this or placing yourself. You can draw in the forest, taking your opponent's forest and zone them away from here, being able to shoot from the forest covers. Those are probably the best shooting positions, but you need highly mobile archers for this. So yeah, overall this map promotes an absolutely aggressive playstyle. The slope here also plays into it, which it makes it very hard to reconquer this your own home objective once you have lost it. Of course, you're closer to it, but you have to fight upwards and take the penalties for that. But so much for the map. Let's go for the builds. We have Ogre Bolts and some degree 2 Crushers, one of them being the Regiment of Renown, and even more Ogre Bolts. Those with dual weapons, those without, the single Gnobler. And the Slaughtermaster with, just healing. That's the most common setup you see. If you come with a single caster and not a fire caster, fire belly. What really surprises me that I don't see any Gnoblars in here from the Trapper branch of Gnoblars. Like, they are, in my opinion, still the strongest unit on the Ogre roster, because they dish out so much damage with their high model count shooting, that, quite surprising to not see them here. They are stalked, so they can get close to other archers and make up for their low range, and they usually rack low armored spears and halberds troops, which we see a lot on the Empire side here. Which is unsurprising, since ogres otherwise run over you if you don't have spears. They also can, if they get good charges and some form of critical mass, just roll over spearmen if they don't have a lot of armor, but they at least take some certain degree of return damage in there. And should the force be stopped or the push be stopped, they start taking really bad damage, since they have also no armor and the spears will wreck them. So as long as they move, fine. If they stop, no longer. Here we have Wolfheart and his Huntsman Corps of 4. Wolfheart, of course, because of that. And a volley gun. I suspect it's mainly for the shooting and rather being survivable. I suspect it's from a tournament. It is from a tournament where the landship was banned, so the landship would have been the obvious choice for Empire here. But alas, you weren't allowed. The volley gun is also interesting to pick it over the cannon. But I haven't practiced a lot with steam tanks, so I can't make an accurate statement on those. So you see here, they completely push over, but I'm not a fan of what the Empire does here. First of all, this cannon. I mean, you can shoot in here, but that's like an awful firing angle. You get this 1 point and not even to the surroundings of the point. Also, the Empire completely splits it and goes for a triple objective push, which against they are the slow force in this match, and you don't want to get your forces be isolated. If the ogres didn't swing over here, they could do it now and completely wreck those two units. Taking a bit of cannon fire in return, but afterwards just retreating back into the forest. Yeah, they got netted, I believe, from Marcus. Yeah, I said I'm not a fan of what the Empire is doing here, but I'm also not a fan of what the ogres are doing. They moved in a few units first, had those others here in between. They could have waited in the forest here and in the forest here and then do a pincer movement, crushing everything in between. So, the ogres are in an interesting dilemma though currently. They don't want to fight against halberds and spears in the forest since what I said earlier about their momentum being blocked is of course doubly so in the forest with the trees, and much easier to get stuck. So they don't want to fight the spears in the forest, but they also don't want to stay in the open because there is where the huntsman and potentially the cannon would get to them and shoot them. But they're forcing quite interestingly through and getting a lot of the huntsman. Though you have to say those crushers being terror outed is a bit surprising. They have a lot of HP left. But they're very isolated. And finally we see some shooting from the ogres. Those gnoblers will, without any problem, remove those halberds and the spears in addition. The problem is they're doing that with a rather slow fight while they are in the middle of the highest pitched engagement over here. Which isn't really going in their favor, I would say, though honestly, oh, that's a third crusher. I didn't notice it being summoned. Yeah, look at those values. Look at those values. This one is fine, but the others aren't. Though somehow, somehow they're still winning. Now we get some demis here. If those crushers turn, demis aren't super good against other monstrous cavalry. Yeah, you see that damage, and that was an rather diminished crusher unit. You see that damage? You see it? Demis aren't good against other monstrous cavalry, and the crushers get the butcher and actually heal against them. Oh my lord. They got a lot of value, but all of it got healed. Yeah, here the Gnoblers are completely removing those halberds without any issues whatsoever, and that's why I wanted to see them earlier. You need them. I don't think it's exaggerated to say you need them. This is so interesting. The ogres kinda took a lot of bad traits, but pushed through first of all power of healing, and then sheer tenacity and leadership. Actually, ogres aren't famous to be high leadership factions, but yeah, I guess with 80 base on the Sky Crushers and 70 on those. We saw them weirdly terror routing earlier, but yeah, that's not the norm. And honestly, even here in the spawn, Empire doesn't have that much they can summon. Usually you don't want to be in the enemy spawn because the enemy can just summon a counter unit directly below you. But Empire just doesn't have a whole lot that can actually threaten Crushers and more so the Sky Striders. You've seen the attempt with the Demis and it ended horrible. Halberds, of course, will do well, but they can't block the 2200 mass of Crushers, so the Crushers can just leave. The cannon is doing weirdly little. What's the Halberd is? Cannon value 200. Yeah, it's just not hitting, which is weird. Why this force isn't attacking, I don't completely understand. The ogres have to take points quickly, and they should have no problem to, if they get a surround of 3 sides and you have 3 units here, they could just take this thing out and Vanguard summon another Gnobler to remove the halberds. Here we see Huntsman returning. How did they do in their first life? And not so hot. The problem is they are amazing anti-large units, but Crushers have 120 armor. That's also why we've seen this Metal Mage here with Plague of Rust. Actually, triple spells. Wow. This thing is expensive, and maybe routes of the field, maybe rallies would be a shame. Huntsman getting charged, yeah. Though they only have 12 models, they are really racking into infantry if they get the charges. What do we have here? Some other crushers. Is that a 4th crusher? Doesn't have value. That is a 4th crusher. Oh my. Oh, those are without? No, they all have great weapons. I didn't know you could bring 4 crushers. Oh yeah, those have good value. That's the one that killed the Demis. Metal Mage rallied, which is nice, but Empire, they are kinda still suffering from what I said earlier. They went for all 3 points, and afterwards they had to summon reinforcements to certain points, and your tactics after the initial deployment are to some degree defined by where you need them, so you don't have full free choice on them. And the result is that your units are scattered all over the place, but if you want to go against ogres, you need to have them fairly tight together. Otherwise, things like this happen, where those halberds they're a good counter unit, but they're just getting surrounded from all sides. And here's also happening what I said earlier with the slope. If your home point falls, this slope makes for some devastating charges. Really multiplying the mass, or rather the speed probably. Really multiplying the charges up. Huntsman not doing so hot considering it's a 2nd life. Sterlin's Revenge 900. Yeah, they always do kinda good. They are AP and they will do good again here. Those halberds holding Brave, but I don't think. Let's see what the steam tank got. Actually, this is quite great. Yeah. It's a bit surprising. Would have thought it would have been worse. The Great Cannon finally getting some shots, but I wonder if just placing it here and playing the lane would have been better. This firing angle is really awkward, especially with those trees in here. And yeah. Ogres still not having taken this point. By this, they are since a while deep into the territory where they need to triple cap, and they currently hold it, but I don't know where there's. This point wasn't heavily garrisoned at any point. Like the steam tank camped for a while here, but the steam tank impact in pure melee will be mainly slow. Terror, yes, but okay. Point is falling. See how quickly those Gnoblers and bolts can dispatch a single halberd. Those are my Discord ping. Apologize. And by now they are already losing this again. And this is some heavy overcommit now onto this. Yeah, you don't need that much. Jeez. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 full units to kill a halberd and the scraps of a spearman. You didn't need that, and due to this point is falling, and the Empire is finally not really all over the place anymore, and has built a tight core, and now you won't get rid of this any time soon and easily. They are kinda more tightly and more defensively packed than they were at the very beginning of the game. Thing about I said about momentum stops will make this scary, very scary. I'd like for ogres to have at least like one lead belcher or scrap launcher in the reinforcements to summon at some point, either early or in mid-game, and start shooting at halberds that get freshly reinforced. Now you need to force. Actually, it's looking pretty good. I might stand corrected. The ogres managed to rally a lot of their forces that were routing in there, and yeah, the thing about ogres is that even if they have only a few models, once they get into charge, they get a leadership buff for charging for some time at least, and even a few models can wreck like a line of dead bodies into a squishy unit, unarmored unit, especially if they charge downhills. But they don't have a lot of time, and they kinda didn't wreck those halberds on charge and got stopped. And this terror thing here is also doing a lot of work. Yeah, it's 30 seconds, and those halberds are currently off the point, those spears are off the point. If they move on to again, this is not gonna work. Also, Empire kinda taking this side. No, they will win against the Gnoblers. Nah, do we see the steam tank dying to a cannonball of their own faction? Probably not. Too late.
There is only defeat.
Okay, yeah. So I was rather surprised with the Crushers. The Sky Striders, of course. They are super expensive and they got like all of the healing from the ogres. Though you need that much to actually heal cap this guy with Troll Guts. I think you with one overcast you almost have some heal capped already. So yeah. He is second crusher and it will really 4. I didn't know you could bring 4. I thought it would limit it to 3. Not all of them did good, but they kinda crushed the Empire's formation and took down the Huntsman. And without the Huntsman, those Gnoblers would have wrecked a lot of things. Those initial 6 Ogre Bolts, they were kinda a bit out of position, and then got half of them got sacrificed a lot to kinda take the first arrows that didn't go at the crushers from the Huntsman. They got netted and shot down, but also the crushers are armored and could have taken it a lot better. So the crushers were good, but I'm not a fan of the rest of this army, starting army. I also not a fan of. I like the Empire's army. The Steam Tank, you can't argue, was good. I can't argue that it wasn't good. This value speaks for itself, and also Terror and surviving until the end and going through. Marcus was also great. Jeez, yeah, AP shooting into crushers. Yeah, I kinda like the Empire army, but maybe those Huntsmen should have been wagons, like 3 wagons instead of for Huntsmen. Huntsmen are better against Gnoblers, but you can't really afford shooting at Gnoblers anyway, I think. So yeah, also a lot of halberds and really nothing that can kill Gnoblers except the Steam Tank. Maybe that was the intention, to take the Steam Tank to kill Gnoblers, but it also did fine into Monstrous Infantry somehow. Ooh, yeah, they got a lot of value in the end. Cannon was weird. And I think mainly weird of it was the placement. Battle cost. I think I saw some really nasty final transmutation going through there. It didn't really see how many units it affected since everything was in a weird mixed and fluid state. Something interesting still here. Not really. Yeah. Then I end it here and see you on the next one once I get it. Bye bye.